is Curtis with Campfire Tales, Cryptids of America. And joining us around the campfire tonight is part two of our interview with David Parker. And we'll pick up where I am asking him if he has any apprehensions about gifting these creatures. Before we get started, however, I do want to remind you to please check out our merchandise section. You'll find that in the links below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share us. All right? Now, on with the show.
Imagine. So, do you feel any apprehension by gifting these creatures?
No.
You know, giving them apples and stuff like you mentioned before?
No, I'm showing them kindness and appreciation. And I
Okay.
don't put out so much as they become dependent on. That's where
Gotcha.
people screw up. I don't do it. Here's the thing. When I put stuff out, it's only when I have good interaction with them. And then I'll walk out to the barn and then I'll holler out into the woods, "Are you hungry?" And they come running. That's when all the calls stop because they're on the move.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times where I'm not 40 feet away from it and I can hear them chewing on dog food already.
Wow.
Because I'll put like I'll just take out like a Folgers coffee can, which is kind of handy because it's bright red and I can see that from my deck. So
Yeah.
like in the morning I can see it. If that coffee can's still there, I know they didn't touch it. If it's gone, I know they got it.
Okay. Have you ever collected any samples from these, like hair or scat or anything?
I've got hair. I've got one picture of some poop that I haven't really identified, but it's, at least 2.5 inches across, and we don't have any bears here.
No, didn't you send that to me yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But it was kind of, like pebbles all forming a turd. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I guess I would call it like a composite turd. It wasn't just like a normal poop. It was all these little pebbles all together, but to make a bigger one, I guess.
Yeah. Now, some of the photos and stuff you sent me yesterday, did you take all those?
Yeah.
Okay. D- would it be okay with you if I attach them to this
Sure.
this video? Okay.
Sure.
Very good.
Because
Now,
like
I'm
that
not.
one tree structure was pretty cool, wasn't it? With the axe.
Yeah.
Two busted off trees.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm not sure how I'm going to get the audios attached in here, but my editor, she does a really good job at that sort of thing.
Ah.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah. I mean, because those definitely pretty good. You got to listen to them. What'd you think of the coyotes howling or the males howling with the coyotes?
I didn't get to that one.
Oh.
I
Well,
had trouble getting it loaded.
Oh, because in that one, it's like one of these in the bunch is not like the other ones
Mm-hmm.
because it's got that horse sound to the voice, and it's a lot lower, and that's the one gets them going. See, here each of the adult males has like 5 domesticated coyotes that are 100% under their control.
Okay.
And
How'd you come up with that?
well, because I've seen them run the deer before. Now, this would have been when the leaves were down on the west side of my property. One day I saw like 20 deer, and they were clipping along pretty good. And then behind them was like 15 coyotes chasing them. And then behind them were 3 adult males running on all fours. And I'll tell you what, that's something to behold, watching them cruising through the woods like that. And I mean, they're as big as a buffalo.
And they move too, don't they?
Oh,
They,
oh yeah. That,
mm,
let's just put it this way. There ain't no way you're ever going to outrun one. I don't care if you're on a 4-wheeler or a horse. If they want you, you're done for.
yep.
They
Yes.
get you.
That's like, people that go out looking for Bigfoot. Um, unless they're maybe like the kind that you have on your place, that are, you know, pretty much easy to get along with and don't care
Yeah.
if you see them. But otherwise, if you see one, it's going to be a mistake that they've made because they don't want to see you. They're just happy doing their own thing.
Well, yeah, and most of the time when you see them, it's pretty brief. And a lot of people go, well, if you're having all this encounters, where's all your pictures? And, you know, a lot of times I'd rather see the Bigfoot, and I really don't care about the pictures because I know they're real.
Yeah.
Everybody I've ever brought here has, whether or not they've seen one or not, they were convinced they were here. They had no doubt in their mind.
One of my favorite sayings is that disbelievers in your story or your experience, they can't take away from what is really true. Just because they don't believe it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, and usually the visuals on them don't don't last more than about 5 seconds.
No.
And I give an example to people like in my Bigfoot group. They want to say, "Well, where's the pictures?" I said, "Well, show me a picture of a deer that ran out in front of your car while you're driving."
Hmm.
Pretty much same difference. I mean, when you see one of them, especially like a big male, you're awestruck. You're like you're not even thinking about a camera. I mean, you're looking at this big old boy that when he's on all fours, he's 7.5 feet tall and as big. Yeah. And his arms are as big around his knee. You're thinking, I just hope I don't tick this thing off.
Yeah, when you see one of these guys, you're
You're
you're busy
awestruck.
trying to process what you're seeing and trying to rationalize it, make sense, and
Yeah.
you're not thinking, oh, let me grab my phone and or whatever and
And
get a
video
picture.
camera,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that don't go through your head.
Now,
Because
if you have a GoPro or something strapped to you or a body camera, you might accidentally get a blur on
yeah.
there, but that's about it.
Well, and most of the time you got to consider the ones here are black. They're jet black. They're most active at night, and they hide in the shadows. Well, unless you got like a whole lot of money to invest in the proper type of camera to get footage, you
Hmm.
know, good luck with that.
Right.
And anything that's infrared, from what I've heard, and I've talked to somebody who was involved with the military, and they said as soon as they turned that infrared on, they were tracking a Bigfoot. He looked right back at
Hmm.
them, so he could see it.
Wow. Well, somebody had posted the other day, with all the game cameras and stuff that are out, why hasn't somebody captured a good picture of a Sasquatch, Bigfoot? And people have captured some things, the blurs type
Yeah.
stuff, and or whatever people would want to believe might be a Bigfoot. But these guys, they live in the wild. They can smell plastics or other man-made products, and they can associate that with, this is not normal. So unless they're just absolutely curious, they're not going to go around there.
Well, we had tried putting some up here. I had some guys do an investigation, and I told them like different areas where I'd had sightings and encounters, and they put up cameras. I'll tell you what, they knew they were there.
Yep.
The guys thought they were being flanked, so they actually watched them put them up. And out of 4,500 pictures, there wasn't any Bigfoot in there, and they stayed back. Now, when they came back and they took their cameras, they came back that very night.
Wow.
So they knew. Don't ask me how they know, but they know. Whether
But they're not dumb.
whether they hear them, because these cameras that they had all this extra padding in them and junk to try and make them more silent. Now the deer would still look at them, But the one thing that I found interesting is out of 4,500 pictures, and there were a bunch of deer in it, the one thing we didn't see was any fawns. I found that interesting.
That is interesting.
You'd
You
see
would
all,
think they would be the more curious.
well, maybe they ate the fawns. They're pretty tender.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you know, you'd see like 7 deer, and there was not one fawn with them. Which I thought that was out of place. Now, another thing, that if you're wanting to have Bigfoot encounters, you got to remember the rule of less is more. Less people, less technology equal more interaction.
Or at least more possibility for interaction.
Yeah, and I found that I'm an empath, and they are, from a lot of the people I've talked to over the past 8 years, they seem attracted to empaths. I believe
Okay, and now explain what that is.
well, I pick up on people's feelings. I can, there's weird stuff. I've gotten into people's dreams before. Um, I have dreams of the future sometimes. And a lot of times, the people around me, it drives them nuts because I'll say out loud what they think is their thought that they're thinking in their head. It's like I'm projecting a thought or something. And I
Hmm.
mean, this happens way too much for it to be any kind of coincidence or just random dumb luck. I can't explain it. It's kind of a gift and a curse at the same time because,
Right, yeah.
like when somebody experiences loss, like a loved one or something. I mean, I'll be crying right there with them. I just, I pick up their feelings. And I think because of that, I'm easier to read for the Bigfoot than, say, somebody who doesn't have any kind of an ability, or
Yeah.
a gift, as you would call it. And I've talked with a lot of people, and it seems like you're going to have more interaction with the opposite sex. And like for me, it's the females. And I've talked with women, and for them, the adolescent males come around.
Hmm. And you told me there were a couple of teenage female Bigfoot that were trying to get your attention.
Well, yeah, they sang for me, and it just happened to be on my birthday, August 13th, and I believe that's about the time where their mating season begins, so that they can have their babies in the spring, right, like during mushroom season and right before the berries start coming in.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was beautiful because there were 2 of them, and they were kind of back by the barn, but they were in the wooded area where I couldn't really see them. But at first they were exchanging the owl calls, and then the 2 of them, they started cooing like a pigeon, and then it went into this, it was like the most beautiful tropical lovebird song you ever heard. I mean, a lot of people would have a tear roll down their cheek. It was that beautiful. And beautiful as it may be, it kind of freaked me out because I thought, uh-oh, have I been too nice to them? Are they in love? Are they going to come just grab me and run off with me? And then what happens when Daddy comes home? I thought, uh-oh, I'd be a dead man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just,
yeah.
and when I talked to my mentor, Richard, he said he felt that they were trying to make themselves attractive to me. Was his opinion of it. And I thought, uh-oh.
So they were making these noises, these sounds, singing to you. Were they whistling or humming or just cooing?
It well, it started out with cooing, and then it sounded like some tropical bird. It sounded like some kind of tropical bird love song type thing.
Okay. So maybe
I can describe it, and they can mimic anything. They can mimic a bullfrog.
yeah.
Because a bullfrog spends his life in the pond. He ain't gonna be 300 yards away on the hillside somewhere, away from everything, unless something grabbed it.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so. Or up in a tree. You wouldn't find a bullfrog in a tree either.
And one time I had gotten this recording, and some guys had it analyzed, and it turned out to be. Do you know what nighthawks are?
Um, well, I know they're birds, right?
Yeah, they're like the largest species of swallow,
Okay.
and they usually come out right about dark. And but I mean they're bigger than a robin, and it's a type of swallow. And
Okay.
anyway, I had recorded this bird call, and it was analyzed, and they said it was the sound of one of those nighthawks. Can you pause this for just a minute?
Sure.
Okay, please. Yeah, Ralph. I'm trying to do an interview. What do you All right, that was my son. He was getting back to me about that vehicle that the plow screwed up.
Okay. Alrighty.
So I'm done. He asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "An interview," and he said, "Bye."
Yeah. Okay. So, tell
So
me more
they
about
they
your.
analyzed it, and they said it sounds like one of those nighthawks, but it's not its song. It wasn't the song that that bird sings. That makes sense.
Okay.
And the guy who had it analyzed, I mean, he went to people that are the top of their line in the field, that study birds. What do they call them? Is that an arborist or something?
Uh, I don't know. Bird people.
But anyway,
Birdman of Alcatraz. Yeah, there you go.
but they had said that, you know, it was they determined that it was like a nighthawk, but it wasn't the song that they do. So they kind of gave it an inconclusive. But now here's a good story about the first time I got a really good look at an adult male.
Okay.
My neighbors on this road that I live on, the guy, he works for one of those hog processing plants, and he's a buyer. So he gets up pretty early in the morning. So they're generally about the time it's dark, they're in bed because he usually gets up I think about 4 a.m. or something, so he can make the road trip to work and everything. But
Okay.
kind of where our properties border, there's an area where there used to be a trailer house, and it's cleared out, and there's an old camper there, and he had a car sitting there that he was probably going to run the demolition derby in a car trailer. And I could hear, like, it was probably 10:30 at night, and I could hear some kind of tinny sounds, like somebody was, kind of just over there screwing around, and I didn't know if it was maybe somebody over there trying to steal gas or whatever. So, being the good neighbor, I came in the house, and I grabbed my pistol and my spotlight and got in the truck, and I drove down there, and I spotlighted the area and everything. Couldn't see nothing. Got up to the neighbors, turned around their driveway, and on my return trip, I'm spotlighting, and I get to this clearing, and there he was, and he just froze. And we're talking an adult male, 7.5 feet tall on all fours. From the side, he was as big as a Holstein bull. Not quite the depth through the chest and belly, but I mean, big.
Mm.
And at first, I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at because a lot of dust particles kicked up from the truck. And so I had my spotlight and my pistol, and I'm looking. And once I realized what it was, I laid the pistol on the seat because I didn't think a 357 Magnum would be enough to do any good other than to tick him off.
Yeah.
And there he was, and he looked kind of nervous because he'd look at me and he'd look ahead. And he'd look at me and he'd look ahead. So I tried to talk to him because I'll be honest, I'm really not. They seem to understand a lot, but I'm not really quite sure as to how much they actually do understand. So I'm there. I am. I'm trying to say, well, hey, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt your family. You know, I just want to. I want to be friends, live in peace, and not have to hurt each other. And but he was nervous, and he had the beard and everything, and then it was almost like his hair went down his back, kind of almost like a mane, and stopped about midway down.
Hmm.
You know, where it kind of V'd like right along the spine.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this old boy was huge. His arm, you know, I'm kind of fat, and his arms were as big around his knee.
Wow.
And,
So
and
what
then
what what
he
did his
walked,
face look like?
his face, the skin color was gray. He got here, they're real shaggy. Now, he had a big round head like a caveman. You kind of describe him like. Where if you think of a caveman, the only skin you'd see that was visible was like right around the eyes and the nose. And you could kind of barely make out lips a little bit. And he was, you know, like I said, he was nervous. And he had a big old beard, but his bangs were cut. Now, I don't know what they're cutting their bangs with. I mean, it could be a piece of broken glass for all I know. But their hair, like on the head and stuff, it reminds you like a string mop, like a Raggedy Ann doll or something, you
Okay.
know, where it's kind of long and stringy.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if his head is kind of conical, there's so much hair that it would kind of cover that up. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have a conical head, but he's got a really thick mop of hair on his head.
Okay. Did he have a neck?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much that was noticeable. But you know, like I said, he'd look at me and then he'd look ahead, and then you wouldn't expect anything that big to be so graceful. And then he went from the neighbor's property through an open spot in the fence onto my property. And then I pulled forward, and it's heavily wooded, and I didn't see him. So I don't know. He got through there, and he probably just cruised into the gully that goes down to my pond or something. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, but you know, when you're that big, it'd only be a few steps, and you cover some ground.
Yeah, and like you said, it's hard to imagine how something so big can move so quick and silently, you know. But
Well, when they're
man,
on all fours, see, they don't like knuckle walk like a gorilla does. They don't.
right,
What they do is if you curl your fingers up and you tuck your thumb in and you kind of got your palm down, they go like that. And then that way, you ever see like pictures of where here there's heavy leaf litter on the forest floor, but you find a track and it's just bare. That doesn't make sense, does it?
right,
But if they're on all fours and the hand scraped along there before the foot went down, it does make sense. Because the hand will clear like any crunchy stuff out of the way. And then they step on top of the handprint. That's where your mid-tarsal break comes from. It's from them walking on all fours. Because like I said, if you curl your fingers up and you tuck your thumb in, and then put weight on your hand.
yeah,
Where's it all focused? Right on the heel of your hand, right?
mm-hmm. Yep,
Now, if you take your hand curled up like that and put it right on the bottom of your opposite foot, that heel of the hand seems to line right up with that mid-tarsal break. So I don't believe that there is one. And because when they're on all fours, there's more weight towards the front, so they're kind of top heavy, so to speak.
yeah,
So that heel of the hand is going to make a deeper impression. And then when the foot steps on top of it so they don't make extra tracks, the bigger, wider foot does not leave as deep of an impression, and then when they step, then it gives the appearance of a mid-tarsal break that isn't there. It's just simply them walking on all fours.
okay.
If that makes sense to you.
Well, it does, and it's interesting because somebody I talked to earlier was talking about the mid tarsal break and how the foot would bend, like if you're walking in snow, and your foot bends and your toes will kick back a little bit of snow,
Right.
so that it actually kind of bunches up
Right.
about in the arch of your foot. Um, so yeah, I find that interesting.
So I don't believe in that mid-tarsal break theory. I think
Yeah,
the one who come up with that is not a field researcher, doesn't have the observations. And you're not looking at fresh tracks. And, sometimes it's pretty hard to pick it out if it's a composite track like that. But it would also explain extra toes and what looks like deformities and whatnot. Is
yeah.
if you get it in your head that they do walk on all fours like that, and what if the foot didn't line up quite right on top of the handprint? Well, it might look like there's a distortion in the foot.
It could look like bear tracks.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the one thing that you find is
Okay, everybody, this is Curtis again, and I just want to thank you guys for sticking with me, and I hope you enjoyed this second interview with David. And be sure you join us next week for the conclusion, part three. And I will have some videos and hopefully some audio tracks that he sent, and they'll be included in next week's episode. So be sure to visit our store, check out the merchandise, and if you like what you hear, give us a like, share, comment. Tell us what kind of stories you would like to hear. Tell us if you have a story you would like to share. And keep in mind, right now we're doing Bigfoot. My genre is, I actually probably shouldn't have called it Campfire Tales Cryptids of America. I should have just called it Campfire Tales of America. But anyhow, I tell stories about Bigfoot, Mothman, skunk ape, skinwalkers, wendigos, rougarous, kangaroos, ghosts, aliens, unsolved mysteries. That's my favorite because I'm retired police. Okay, I like cold cases. Anyhow, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, subscribe, share, tell your friends about us. Okay, and if you have a story, get in touch with us. All right, you can find out how to do that in the links below also. Okay, all right. Y'all have a good evening. God bless.